And we're at time if you want to get started.
Okay, welcome everyone to the tools to get your site ready for Drupal 9 and 10. My name is Ofer Shal. I work at Phase 2, and with me today.
Hi, my name is Matt Glaman. I work at my own company, Bluehorn Digital.
So today we would like to talk to you about what's available, what worked, and what's ahead of us. Whether you are in a stage where you're on Drupal 8 to 9 upgrade, or maybe thinking forward to get yourself ready for Drupal 9 to Drupal 10 upgrade. So Drupal 8 to Drupal 9 was the first major version upgrade without a rewrite. So until now, major Drupal versions required a massive rewrite of the whole project. And finally, we're getting to a new era that we already tested. So before, what deprecation over complete rewrites really means is that no longer we need to write the entire API. Right, there's specific functions that slowly being deprecated and being replaced with a better version, more secured, faster, and these are the parts that we get to work on in order to get a site upgraded. Before there were many charts that show how 8 to 9 going to work, and it shows how as Drupal 8 move forward, more and more new ability, new functionalities is added, meaning new functions would be declared as deprecated code. It would still work at 8, and when you go to Drupal 9, all that code from before is not being shipped anymore in Drupal 9, and all the new functionality is working. What we saw in the past of these upgrades is that it might be difficult to know, okay, so I'm ready to move from 8 to 9 or later on from 9 to 10. What is the deprecated code that I need to deal with? How do I deal with it? And where do I find it and how do I fix it? So the good news is we have great tools at hand. They were developed, I would guess to say recently, because at the beginning of 8 to 9 was an idea, and slowly, they were proven tools that works really well and make it a really nice and smooth process. Yep, so just like 8 to 9, guess what? Drupal 10 is coming. And as we continue with Drupal 9, we're adding new functionality. If you've seen the session before about how core and dependencies are changed, and because of that, the different APIs must be changed. The good news as well is as we're using these tools, we see these tools continue moving forward with us into the future of Drupal 11, 12, 13, and all the upcoming versions. Yeah, so Drupal 9 for a long time was this promise of, yep, it's going to be okay. No longer what you've seen before in Drupal major upgrades. This one going to be a nice and smooth ride. So far, and all the feedback we got was such a smooth process for many people. Drupal 10 coming up, that upgrade, we assume it's going to be even easier before. The difference is Drupal 8 has a long life cycle. Many minor versions, 8.0, 8.1, 0.2, and so forth, all the way up to 8.9. So more and more deprecations we're building up. Drupal 9 has a shorter life cycle, probably continue also with the future of Drupal 10, 11, and so forth. Less time for deprecations. So the iteration going to be faster. And we finally had changed the semantic versioning and how we're dealing with deprecated code.
Yeah, so I can take over and I'll talk about some of these tools that are available and also when to use them, because you've probably heard like the various names and wondering which one to use when. So first, I'd like to talk about upgrade status. Upgrade status is your best place to get started if you're just getting started with looking at upgrading from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9, or you have a 9 site and you don't know what deprecations there are, if a module will be ready. The upgrade status module, well, it's a Drupal module you install on your site, and it will help discover any code that is calling deprecated code. If you're using deprecated twig templates, CSS or JavaScript files, or even deprecated hooks. For one example, Search API actually has a hook that they deprecated in favor of events. So if you have the facets module installed, or previously did, it actually would say, hey, the facets module is using this deprecated hook. It will be removed by this version. One of the really nice things about upgrade status is its friendly user interface. So if you're new to this, or you are a site builder and you're like, well, I got to manage all these upgrades, it gives it a really nice digestible format. And one of the nice parts too is it also shows the system requirements. Like if you need to have PHP 7.3 or 4 or 8, I believe Drupal 9 requires 7.3 at least, or Drupal 8 was released when it was PHP 7, so you could get by on old PHP releases. It also helps explain the upgrade paths and how you can work with maintainers to either, like figure out like, hey, can we get a release, or what would it take to help get a release out? While it does provide a user interface, there is a drush command that you can run. So if you like to use drush and you have your site installed, you could just type out that command and get this same report in your command line as well. So if you want to get upgrade status, the project page is drupal.org/project/upgrade status. And Gabor has done a wonderful job documenting the project and how to use it. Next, I'd like to talk about DrupalCheck, which is one of my projects. DrupalCheck is a command line tool to find deprecations in your Drupal code. It's a command line tool that performs static code analysis. What does that mean? That means you don't need a database. You don't need to have a Drupal site that's installed and running. You just need your code to be sitting somewhere and you run it against it. And behind the scenes, upgrade status is actually invoking this. So when you do upgrade status, it runs this tool and then does some other checks that it can't do. For example, as we said, upgrade status can find deprecated twig templates and hooks. All that data requires a state of Drupal, like Drupal being installed. So the command line tool can't really figure that out. If you'd like to use DrupalCheck, you install it as a composer dependency. So composer require mglommen/DrupalCheck, and then you just run it from the vendor directory with DrupalCheck path to module, and it will spit back out a format of all of the items to fix. And then I wanted to also touch on PHP stand with PHP stand Drupal. And as we've gone through this tooling stack, we've kind of gone from the high level to going into the lower levels. So PHP stand is a static analysis tool, and this is the core component to all of the upgrade tooling. DrupalCheck is just a bundled package that helps configure PHP stand for you. And the glue that makes it all work is my extension PHP stand Drupal, which allows PHP stand to discover and analyze Drupal code. If you don't know what that means, it's just PHP code uses auto loading. Most PHP projects dump all of their auto loading information to a file. Drupal leverages a database. So my extension mocks some of that stuff there. If you want, you can use PHP stand directly. You don't need to use DrupalCheck or upgrade status. It's more of like an advanced user operation, but the one benefit is you could use it for other static code analysis tools. If you wanted to just use PHP stand, you could run composer require, PHP stand, the extension installer, the deprecation rules, and then my extension PHP stand Drupal, and then run PHP stand. So the example is kind of hard to show the difference, but it says, hey, simple example has no return type hint, and then several deprecation notices. So those are all the tools on finding these deprecations. So that way you're aware of, what is the current state? Now you'd have to go in and manually fix all of those. And as somebody who did that for a lot of modules and even my own site, it's not fun. Luckily, we have Drupal Rector. And Drupal Rector is a command line tool for automating the fixes to your deprecated code usages. It's like this magical fairy that comes down and is like, oh, you have some deprecated code here. Twiddly do. It's fixed and uses the right way, uses the right form of code. So like I said, all the previous tools tell you what must be fixed, and this tool fixes them. And neat fun fact, it actually has PHP stand under the hood for its to help leverage the abstract syntax tree parsing that PHP stand is built. So if you want to get running with Drupal Rector, it's another composer project. So you do composer require palantir net/Drupal Rector. You do have to copy the configuration file, and then you just run rector path to module. Now I'll put a little note here real quick. These instructions say to copy a rector.php file. This is referencing a soon to be merged upgrade that's coming to Drupal Rector. So if you go try this right now, it might say, sorry, that file doesn't exist. This is just, we have an upgrade that is coming out soon. And then I wanted to also talk about the upgrade rector module. So yes, there's a module for this. The upgrade rector module is like a counterpart to upgrade status. And this is a module that will run rector for you. So if you're not comfortable with Composer, or you don't want to have to configure anything, the module can be your way of running this against your own code, or maybe helping contribute fixes to other projects on Drupal.org. So again, that project is upgrade rector, and the project status page, the project page is drupal.org/project/upgrade rector. And before we move on to some other topics, I just wanted to give a large shout out to PHP stand and the rector projects. All this tooling was built on the shoulders of giants. None of these tools would be possible if there wasn't PHP stand and rector. Little side note, I recently received funding to work on PHP stand Drupal and get everything ready for Drupal 9. And I gave a quarter of that money to the maintainer of PHP stand, because even though I'm maintaining one extension, we rely on their code and their open source contributions. So I just think we should all give them a lot of thanks for the packages they've built and made it able so we can upgrade our Drupal sites. Offer, did you want to take over this part?
Thank you. So how do we actually do it? What does it mean to maintain either my module or my site, whether I'm on 8 or if I'm ready to go from 9 to 10 into the future? So first of all, let's talk about the module maintainers and what they need to make sure they do. And also we'll add one more piece about rector rules. So we said we have different tools to analyze and check and tell us what's deprecated. There are bots running once a week and checking all the modules and where they're at today. Maybe today, a new release of a deprecated function was released. These bots will find it and make sure that we know what is the work that is needed to get each module upgraded. When we talk about the automation of fixing modules, that's what Drupal Rector does. Drupal Rector is a package on top of Rector package, and it has rector rules. Every deprecation that would have a rector rule would make so many people's lives so much easier, because instead of writing that code, Drupal Rector is not just a find and replace package. It's actually go and analyzing and do the best of its possibility. Will create a code for you, or maybe would also add a comment to tell you, here's something that was fixed, but you should actually manually check it. So every rector rule that will be added would run by Project Update Bot. Project Update Bot run rector on every single module. Also, to clarify another part, we talk about few tools, one to show us what need to be upgraded, and the other to actually generate code for us. The one that generating code would run regardless of what was found, meaning all the rector rules that can apply to any modules would be applied, and that would be the patch that is running, that is generated. Also mean that maybe today in April, the bot was running and create one patch for you. If we add additional rector rules, the next time the bot is running, it will have an even better patch for you. So as a module maintainer, you can either create some of these rector rules according to what your module need, or the project update bot would deliver for you into an issue that patch that you need for your module. We would need your help to actually test it and make it an official part of your module to benefit the whole community. You can also add PHP Stan into your Drupal CI, right? Because that would allow you, instead of a year after, okay, where's my module and is it ready for Drupal 10? If you're already bringing PHP Stan into Drupal CI, as deprecation coming up, you will already get a warning about it. You will already see and be notified, and you'll be able to get your module ready way in advance. For site maintainers that we are depending on module maintainers, we can add Drupal check into our CI. The same with a module maintainer, meaning that instead of one day to decide, okay, so what is this Drupal 10 upgrade means? I can actually have, as deprecations being added, I get notified about it and I can already take care of it. Regarding Drupal Vector, it would also test your custom code. So it's not only for contrib modules. Any rector rule that can run on your custom modules would also be applied and help you as well. So just like you're running PHP-CS in your CI, running Drupal check and be notified ahead of time. And upgrade status, which is in the UI, would actually let you know what is happening. It will tell you maybe there's no work you need to do locally because the module maintainer already released a Drupal 9 or Drupal 10 version. So your work as a site maintainer, just download the latest version and your site is ready. So how do you get involved? Because this is all open source and we're a community and we need everyone's help. So we have a Slack channel called D10 Readiness. Thank you. And we have meetings every 2 weeks on a Monday. It might become weekly as we get closer to the next major upgrade. You can ping myself. You can ping Matt if you need help or you have suggestion or advices that we can use. Was it something? Can you go back to the previous slide? Thank you. So the help that is needed, or the major part, we're preparing the tools. And Matt did great work to get us ready for Drupal 9, get the latest version of Rector. The main thing that is needed now is creating Rector rules for every deprecation we find. And we're going to have a list of the top 10, and then we can move to top 50 and so on to see how many modules would benefit from each rector rule. Now go to the next slide. Thank you. And by writing rector rules, everyone benefits. Like I said before, it will bring it to the Drupal update bot that will utilize it. People will be able to use it in their own custom code when they need. Any testing that you can help us with is more than welcomed. We have PHP 8 tests, Drupal 10, a branch would be open sometime soon. We'll wait with it to the last moment as possible, but once it's there, when the community tests things in the different situation, different installation and setup that they have, that is the most helpful thing, because that's how we get feedback and we can fix and make things even better.
And one major benefit is to run against all of the different contributor projects you use. For example, with the Rector upgrade, PHP 8, or sorry, Drupal 8 supported PHP 6, 7, and 8, and I believe Drupal 9 supports 8 and 9. And there's various tricks to that support. And we found a few bugs because I was testing on something that had PHP 7 involved, PHP unit 8 involved. But then we found a bug there, or Karen's the contributor. She ran it against web form, and that shook loose a handful of bugs. And actually, it found a bug in the PHP doc parser and PHP stand. So now I'm going to be going off into that realm to work on it. The testing matrix is very large. We have PHP 7.4, PHP 8, Drupal 8.9, Drupal 9.1.2.3, then Drupal 10, and all the various contrib where things can go a little wonky. So having mass testing from all of our users, and you don't need to make the fix, but if you can be like, hey, I ran it and then this weird thing happened, that's a huge benefit too, because then we know what we can fix, and that's contributing to. Manual testing is contribution. I don't care what anybody says. You don't need to manually test and fix the problem you found, but you need to make sure you tell us, and that is a major contribution on its own. So I think that is it. We can do Q&A.
I did see a question before. Oh, there is Q&A ready. Is it okay? So I'll read out loud the question for everyone that are watching it later on as well. Is it okay to install upgrade status via the UI, or there are additional requirements? And this is a question from a site builder.
Install via the UI.
So upgrade status, and that's what I love about it. And Gabor, thank you so much for making it, because upgrade status is meant to be run through the UI. It's like any other regular module you would use. It should make things simple for you. In the UI, you'll get the full display of what's needed.
I think this is about installation from the UI. Can you provide a little clarity in the chat? Because if you mean via like update.module where you feed it an archive, like a .zip, and it installs it, no, it cannot, because it must install PHP stand Drupal via Composer. So upgrade status cannot be installed by the UI. It must be installed via Composer. If you want, you could open an issue, because there are ways we could work around that. It may not be pretty, but we can. Because fun fact, Drupal check used to be distributed as a FAR, which is like a PHP archive, to avoid having to use Composer. Because 3 years ago, that's when we still had a lot of that. There was a lot of folks who were still getting used to the Composer flow. So I think it wouldn't hurt to open an issue so we can make that discussion. And I can take the one about Drupal check and PHP stand complaining about prophecy and called to undefined methods. So that's where you could configure PHP stand to ignore all of your test files. Because Drupal has a lot of conditional code where there's code that won't run unless those dependencies exist, but it still references that code. And PHP stand is a static code analyzer. It doesn't understand your code state. It says, well, you have a class that extends something, but that thing that defines that class doesn't exist yet. And this is most common when you have a Drupal site without its developer dependencies installed. There isn't a good way to work on it, or to add that to fix that, but open an issue on the Drupal check GitHub, or ping me in Slack. And now that I do have some funding for working on this, let's find a solution.
There's a question about what do we do about modules that haven't been updated for Drupal 9 despite a patch for it existing. So it was abandoned or low developer maintenance. We did discuss it earlier before the presentation. It could be a whole other presentation as well. In general, where you're going to get into the tricky part is when it's the info YAML file that need updates. Maybe we'll find a bigger solution, a better solution for the problem, because the another common thing would be there is a patch ready. Maybe the update bot did it. Maybe the community already tested it and everything is ready, but the maintainer didn't release it. If it's not the info YAML change, by calling the patch in Composer, you will be able to use it as if the module released it officially.
Chat. So do you have any recommendations for how to check for deprecations in a custom D9 distribution using contrib modules that support D8 and D9 containing deprecations to maintain D8 support? Oh, as somebody who has worked with distributions his entire Drupal career, so you need to support D8 and D9. I would just, I'm assuming that this isn't a public distro, but maybe it's an internal one that is being used at an organization. I would just make 2 major versions because it could be really hard to support D8 and D9 with one module. Not impossible, but it could be hard. And I'm just thinking of like your maintenance requirements. Oh, you don't, but you use contrib modules that do. Oh, that's just, I don't have a good answer for it. That's like a people problem. That's more, I don't have a good maintenance strategy for that besides just figuring out ways to, there's keeping the deprecations to maintain D8 support. I would have a talk with the maintainers because the module should only support 8.9 and not need to maintain 8.7. Like 8.7 would be like your one like backwards compatibility requirements. So I would have a nice cooperative chat with the maintainers to see if they could finally drop those older unsupported versions of Drupal 8.
See, Jess posted a link, rescuing module, how we revived abandoned project. Yeah, because as Jess also wrote there, 8.7 is end of life and insecure.
Over here's a good Drupal rector question if you want to take that one.
Where is that?
In the QA tab.
Can I run the suite of Drupal Vector rules on our custom modules locally outside of Drupal.org? Absolutely. Not only that, you can use upgrade status, which works amazing together with upgrade rector. So Drupal Vector utilize the structure of your site, meaning it looks at all the modules you have installed. It doesn't care if these are contrib or custom. It look at the code that you have right now. Upgrade status will look for you for the contrib modules if something is already available and ready for you in Drupal.org. In case it doesn't, because that would be the easy one. If it's not, it will suggest you can run upgrade rector or Drupal Vector itself. It will show you and display all the custom modules you have and all the contrib modules. It will generate patches for both, and you decide what to do with these patches and how to use them. So yeah, that's why when we create a rector rule, I know that we have this website that keep showing us in a chart of how many deprecations we have, how many of them are covered by Drupal rector. What we don't know is how much of the custom code people have can be upgraded by Drupal rector, because Drupal Vector wouldn't care if it's a contributor custom. It searches the whole code and create patches for whatever it can.
And to add to that about running it outside of Drupal.org, we focus more on like the update bot. There's a lot of concern comes from site maintainers who need modules to be updated, but you can run it on your own code. And the the rector folks are actually working on a bot that would be something you could use with like your GitLab or GitHub. That could provide automated rector fixes to you, like when they come in. So there's a lot of automation coming in as well for your custom code that you could take advantage of.
Yeah, so if you can help us, by joining D10 Readiness, if you can help us by asking questions, do testing and tell us how it goes. If you can help us by creating rector rules or let us know on what's really needed, and we'll find a way to make it happen.
And more advanced documentation will be coming on that as well.
I think we are at time. Is there a tag to prevent the automated rector if I already have an issue?
Yes, if you go to the project bots user page or even the issue, it will. There is documentation on the issue it created, and on the update bot user on how to do that. I believe if you do like closed won't fix, it is like a nope, I will never run again.
And I'm sure as we're gonna, if we're adding additional functionality to the bot in the issue, that will be your way to know how you can communicate back to the bot of, I don't need your help anymore, or please keep it coming. So it doesn't bug you if you don't have to. If we're sharing the presentation, I believe we will upload the slides with all the required links in there into the Drupal TV, or where these sessions, the recorded session is going to be. If I have current issue, can I add a tag to help the bot? That's an interesting idea. We can, again, if you can talk to us in the Slack channel or directly on the GitHub repo and add these ideas, we can find solution for that. I don't think we're doing right now of telling the bot, here's an issue that already solving it, but we can look into it and make improvements.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you so much.